Welcome to the Talk and Chatter Experience, powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. Today's guest is MotoAmerica Superbike Racer, Kyle Wyman. Welcome, mate.
How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Good man, really, really good. Who's Kyle Wyman?
He's a motorcycle racer, runs a race team. He's been doing it for quite a while,
Yep.
entering my 10th season here in running KWR. So that's what I do, man. That's it.
Why did you go about the team option from the start at that point?
Well, I mean, it was really, a pickup truck and a motorcycle just trying to go racing. That's it. It's just the
Yep.
need to go racing and whatever that was going to take. So I've never really ridden for any other teams. Maybe a couple little things here and there, but um, I was 20 years old, just kind of going out my own and just figuring that out. And yeah, just started with the Harley XR 1200 series when
Yep.
I was, racing that class back then, and just been kind of growing it from there.
Do you have like a background in marketing or something like that with your outside work? Because like consistently, your liveries always have looked good. Everything's always presented so well. Obviously, being your own thing, you do that. But do you have some sort of background in that?
I don't honestly,
Mm,
but yeah, I do all the design work of everything, and everything is just born out of necessity. Just
yep.
whatever it takes. It's like, okay, I want to go racing. I'm gonna need a bike. I'm gonna need
Yep.
a truck. Okay, the truck doesn't look that good. I need it to look better. How's it going to look better? Well, I got to design something. How do I design something? Figure out how to
Yeah.
design. It's just a working process of just what's needed. And now, yeah, I definitely getting the hang of some things. I guess you could say I have a background in marketing now because of
Yeah.
everything I've been doing with the team. So, but no, yeah, design the liveries, write all the press releases. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I got a 2-year associate's degree in business administration, so I do have a college degree, but it doesn't carry over that much to motorcycle racing.
Yeah. What you
So
like? Yeah. For me, looking at your team and coming from Australia, looking at the livery and stuff of your bike, it's probably the best looking V4 currently in the world.
appreciate that. Yeah, I
So
appreciate that. It was so funny when I first, at the beginning of last year, I didn't have a livery on the bike until the third race because everything came so late. We just had this full carbon black bike, and
yeah.
and GP1, an Italian magazine, was covering our series and the progress of my team with the Ducati coming back in America. And when the livery came out, they said it was a very American livery. And I
Oh
don't know what
really?
that means, but to the Italians, apparently I made a very American livery out of their Ducati V4R.
That's so funny. Hey, they have such a different take on it, and I guess you see
Yeah,
that coming through the bikes and that as well. But yeah, it is. I do a lot of work for the team here, the race team in Australia for Ducati, and yeah, that
cool.
one of yours looks incredible. So
Appreciate it. Well, we're
where
going
did
to
it all?
switch it up next year. We'll see what happens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
cool.
see.
Where did it all start for you?
Uh, God, I mean, I grew up in a Harley Davidson dealership, my whole
Yep.
family. So my grandfather started a dealership back in 62.
Wow.
So that was way early on in Harley
Yeah.
Davidson. So family dealership's been around since then, and grew up around that. Was bound to be a flat tracker. So got a bike when I was 5 years old, PW50, riding around in the backyard, and then did my first flat track race when I was 8. And we just progressed through the amateur nationals here. And we go to Springfield every year when I was 11, 12 years old and race against all the best amateurs in the country. And then turned pro when I was 16 in flat track, and I raced 3 years of AMA Pro flat track before I ever did any road racing.
Yep.
So definitely a big background in flat track racing.
And that's something you have to have, really, isn't it? As a foundation for road racing, really.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, a lot of the top level guys in our series came from flat track. I mean, like Bobby Fong, I raced against him at amateur nationals back in 2002.
Wow.
And like JD Beach and all these guys, the Gillums, like I grew up around those guys for so long, and a lot of the current pro flat trackers too. So there's quite a crop of kids that came up through those amateur nationals and pro sport series races.
Back when you were on the Pee-wee or PW50, as you say over there, were you a natural? Did you click, or were you just a kid that was just rolling around a paddock? What was it like?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was it was definitely there was definitely moments in my amateur career where there was breakthroughs. It's kind of like progressing in this sport is like kind of a staircase. You kind of at a level, and then you make kind of a breakthrough, and you bring yourself to another level. And I had some good success when I was like 13, 14 years old. Started winning a lot around the local races, and that's when I understood I could race against faster people and understood what they needed to, what they were doing to go even quicker, and how much time and effort and commitment they put into it. And I think I was fortunate enough to realize at a pretty early age that, like, if you want this, you're gonna have to work for it. So,
Yeah.
I definitely feel like, I've put in some time into really specific, working on things all the way back from when I was, 14 years old, thinking about it that way.
Does your family still have the dealership over there?
Yeah, my mom has it. It's
Yeah.
Harbs Harley Davidson up in Rochester, New York, and me and my brothers, who will both race also in MotoAmerica Series. We all live on the West Coast now. We're not involved in the dealership very much, but it's definitely still a part. It's still running. It's still
Yeah.
up there in New York.
What was it like growing up there, like around a Harley Davidson dealership in the 90s?
Well, it was. I mean, yeah, the '90s were crazy for Harley.
Yeah.
Pretty unique situation with our dealership because it's kind of out in the country, and our house was actually up on a hill behind it.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so it was all on the same property, and my grandfather's house was across the street. It's really interesting how it's all kind of laid out, where it's not really in an urban area at all. There's country roads that head out to it. It's kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but it's out there. So, you know, living on the same property as the dealership, that's where the school bus picked me up and dropped me off every day, was in front of the dealership.
Wow.
So totally lived it. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to the shop today. It's like it's right there in the front yard. So definitely a unique situation.
Yeah, definitely. You are the shop. You're always at the
Yeah,
shop. You just become it, I guess. Eh?
it's one and the same for sure.
So where are you basing yourself out of now?
I'm in Tucson, Arizona,
Yep.
and moved out here at the end of 2015. We teach the Yamaha Champion School out at this track called Indy Motorsports Ranch, which is a sponsor of mine. I'm a member out there, and that's about an hour from where I live now. So that's just it's the perfect training ground. We go out there and ride and coach, do one-on-one coaching, and that's really one of the reasons I moved out here, and then also to kind of escape the snow. So
Yeah, I guess Arizona, you'd still get a good climate across the year. Hey, bit of a difference across the year.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's seriously hot in the summer,
Yeah.
but we're traveling during the summer anyway and going all the different racetracks, so it's all good.
So how was your junior flat track series? How did you find your time there? Enjoy it? 3 years was it?
In pro flat track,
In
yeah,
pro?
from
Yep.
2006 to 2008, I ran pro sport. Now flat track has singles and twins all together in one series, but back then they didn't have singles classes running at the nationals. So it was the first ever time they had the Pro Sport Invitational, which I guess would be like pro singles now,
Yep.
and that was at Lima at the half mile in Ohio, and they invited like 15 of the kind of top pro sport riders, and so I was the first. I was the first winner of a singles event at a twins national on a half mile, and then
Wow.
eventually now it's every race has singles, so that's pretty cool to see. But that was kind of the class that I showed the most, and then I raced 2 years on the XR 750 in the twins as well,
Yep.
and had a couple top fives there in a couple podiums in the basic expert twins, which I guess would be kind of like the production twins they have now,
Mm-hmm.
on a restricted XR 750. So yeah, I got to raced up in Canada a lot, Ohio, did as many like outlaw nationals before we ended up switching road racing.
Is the were they good days riding the XR 750? Was it good fun?
Yeah, man, I love that bike. It's just
Really?
something. It's so raw, carbureted twin.
Yeah.
Um, some of my best memories of riding a motorcycle or riding that XR 750. There's just something about it. I miss it a little bit for sure.
Did you get to keep those bikes from that era?
That bike is still at the dealership up in New York. It hasn't run since the Indy Mile in 2008. It's been
Wow.
sitting ever since. So it's kind of just on display as a collector's item.
Don't they look cool still? Like they've still
Oh
got
yeah,
a really cool style to them, you know?
yeah, yeah, they do.
So when you jumped into road racing, what was the first bike you got into road racing on?
We got a 2006 GSXR 600, and the reason we went road racing was they had the Red Bull Rookies Cup in the U.S. in 2008, and I was already too old to try out for it. So I was already 18, 17 at that point during tryouts, and but my middle brother Travis, he ended up making the team. So he ran the Red Bull Rookies in 2008, and went and tried that. And when he made it, it's like, oh, let's go try this. So we got a secondhand GSXR and started racing Wira club races around, and Wira novice, and I was crashing a lot and didn't really know what we were doing. I remember going to pulling up for my first race, and this guy comes up next to me. He's like, "Hey, you need to stay on your warmers longer before they call you out." I was like, "What are warmers?" "Tire warmers. You need tire warmers." I was like, I mean, we were totally green to it, and that was 12 years ago. So
Wow.
gone from, yeah. So yeah, never really. I didn't road race till I was 18 years old. So a little bit of a late start compared to some of the guys I'm racing against now, for sure.
What did you think at the time? Like after getting off dirt to go racing a GSXR 600 around, what track do you remember was your first one for the Wira series? Do you remember?
It was at Barber,
Oh wow.
and yeah, it was at Barber. It was the very last we were race at 2007, I think, and yeah, yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. It was
Yeah.
total. I mean, I think it started raining, and I was on dry tires and crashed, and it was total mess.
Is
But
that
uh,
Alabama? Hey.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Barber Motorsports Park. So
Pretty technical place too, eh? To go to your first place.
yeah, I mean, it was definitely the full road race experience when you go to Barber. It's super wide, blind corners. It's a right-handed racetrack, so as a dirt tracker, I had to learn a lot of right-hand turns. But now, dirt track leather is just trying to figure it out.
Wow. And how long did you stay on the 600 for?
For quite a while, I was a novice, and then I got bumped up to expert halfway through the season as I started to get a hang of things. And in 2009 is when DMG took over AMA Road Racing,
Mm.
and they came out with a kind of a age capped 600 class for the Pro Series. So that was called Super Sport, and they called the Premier 600 class Daytona Sport Bike. If you remember that. So the Premier 600 class, and then the kids class, kind of what it was age capped at 22, I think, and I was 19 at the time. So we went straight into the pro paddock at that point, which without that class probably would have stuck around doing Wira for a little bit longer because I wasn't really ready. But it got us a great opportunity to go race those tracks, be in that paddock, and just kind of see where things went from there.
Because that was a bit of a turning point for the sport too, wasn't it? Like Matt Mladen had just come to the end of his
Yeah,
sort of time. Ben Spies
yeah,
had just left to go to the World Superbike.
yeah.
DMG obviously took it on. It was a big change,
Hmm.
wasn't it, at that time?
Yeah, it was. It was like big rule changes. The regime was kind of came in and pushed around the manufacturers, and when bike sales dropped off, the manufacturers said, "Screw it. I mean, we're out." So that was a big turning point, and I remember being at my first race at Daytona in 2009, and it was the first race weekend of the DMG era. And I remember being in the riders meeting, and Matt Mladen was going off on the guys, and Ben Bostrom and those guys were like, you got to put the flagger on the grass on the infield. We can't see him when he's up in the tower, and they just insisted that the flagger was going to be in the flag stand way above where nobody could see. And from that point on, it was just butting heads between riders and teams against the series, and that was just such an unhealthy situation for everybody.
yeah, it really hurt American superbikes. Like it hurt the racing
Yeah.
for a while, didn't it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Become very disjointed, So
Yeah.
when did you get? What did you go up to after that? What did you get off the GSXR onto? You must have been on the Harley pretty soon after the 1200.
Yeah, the Harley. So in 2010, they announced the XR 1200 series, and it was like only 5 rounds that year. So I did those 5 rounds on a Richie Morris Geico sponsored Harley as like a rental ride. And then 2011, I didn't have anything going, and I got hooked up with Richie again at the last minute, and went and kind of, he provided a bike. I had to crew it, pay for everything.
Wow.
Found a little bit of sponsorship to get it going. I won the first race at Daytona that year. That was my first pro win, and didn't win another one for another year on my own. But that was the Harley kind of. I still really wanted to race a 600 because I felt like I was 21 years old, and there's other guys that are coming through younger with factory rides, and I just felt like I was behind. So I always wanted to get back on a 600, but the XR series really was where I built a business around and was able to give myself longevity in this sport. So, without that Harley series, it's hard to say whether I'd still be here,
Wow.
truthfully. Yeah.
If this might sound wrong, but the XR 1200 series at the time too, marketability wise, was getting a lot more eyes on it than anything really. Hey, as well.
Yeah, it was really good because the nature of the class was that they had really good purse money. So some other guys that, some really good names would come and race in that class. Like we get Danny Eslick, Steve Rapp, Jake Holden, Jeremy McWilliams would come over. I had the Malaysian Hafiz Siren, who was a MotoGP rider last. He rode for me in 2013. Like we started getting a lot of people in the class, and as a guy who didn't have a name, if I could go in there and beat Steve Rapp or, one of these established names that's been around forever, it really helped me build a brand, around my success. And, that was what kind of propelled me into being able to get the sponsorship to eventually, when the XR series went away, to be able to sustain a race program in a much more expensive class like Super Sport or Superbike.
Mm, mm. What were the XR 1200s like to ride on when you first got on?
Honestly, at first they were terrible because there was not enough development. I mean, they hadn't figured out how to stiffen up the swing arms, and the suspension and geometry wasn't quite there yet. So they were a handful. But towards the end of the class, I mean, at 2014, I mean, we were doing times, we were 4 or 5 seconds a lap off of the super sport class. I mean, it's pretty insane. And some of those racetracks, how quick we were hustling those things around. So I loved that class. I really thought it was a lot of fun. It was a great spec series. It came down to the rider and some of the best battles. You have to look up 2013 at the Harley race at Daytona was a pack of 14 riders from start to finish. Huge drafting war. You have to look that on YouTube.
Definitely.
It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Why are you so good at Daytona?
I want to say that I understand the draft really well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about that place, but I from racing flat track and, drafting on the miles and really just having a good sense of strategy and putting myself in the right spot, especially on the Harleys where it's all about the draft. And having success there, winning that 3 times on the Harleys, just gave me, confidence to do well on other bikes there. I just, I get along with that place. I don't know what it is.
Well, when you first went there, what was it like? Like Daytona is like from an Australian perspective, looking online, it's a pretty intimidating place. What was it like to ride around the bank in that?
It definitely was like that. It's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
It's not like anything else. The way I can explain it, it's like when you're in the banking itself, because you're leaned over, you're almost, perpendicular, or you're almost parallel to the ground with your lean angle because the banking is so high and you can't see the end of it. When you go up the wall, it seems, it's like you're in a loop. a never-ending loop is what it looks like, because you can't see the exit of the corner and you're leaned over so much that it just looks like you're doing constant loop. And it was something really really interesting to experience for the first time. But once you understand how to run the wall up top and come down at the right time and everything, there's nothing quite like it.
Yeah, I could imagine it'd be just so, yeah, such a weird feeling. All that G forces of everything loading up when you get on, to
Yeah,
then you got to pull away from it. And I
yeah,
think bike setup would be huge as well for a place like that. Play a major part.
yeah. Well, tires for sure, because
Mm.
on the banking, you're just that rear tire is just getting so roasted that they have special compounds, thinner walls and things to help disperse the heat. So it's yeah, it's a good place.
So the XR 1200 time for you was a good time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think I won 7. I missed out on the championship twice by very little. Um, but hey, got to keep me hungry.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe
What'd you
keep chasing.
What'd you go to after that? What was the next thing?
Well, when MotoAmerica came on in 2015, the XR class
Yep.
was done. So
Yeah.
I wanted to get on a 600. So I ended up racing Super Sport and didn't even get a top 5 in Super Sport. I was really struggling to understand kind of what I needed to do with that bike. And um, midway through the season, a sponsor of mine got me an R1, and just thought that we could try to maybe race a super stock class at some point. And at the end of the season, I decided to ditch the 600 and race the super stock 1000 class at New Jersey. And first time out on an R1, I got on the podium.
Wow.
And it just so happened that I think the 1000 just fit me a little bit better, and I just understood a little bit more how to get the most out of it. And from there, we just said, hey, why not just go to Superbike in 2016, and with basically a super stock bike, but just go to Superbike and then just try to make this a long-term commitment and add parts as I go, try to grow it, get sponsors, and just keep it going. And it's been a slow build, basically 5 years since then to where we are now.
When you jumped on that R1 in 15, was that the previous R1, like the 2009 to 14 model, or was that the new 15
It
one
was a
that
new
came?
15.
The new
Yeah, it
15.
was a new 15.
That would have been a lot more comfortable than the 9 to 14 if you jumped on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've ridden
So,
one. I rode one quite a bit in 2014 at just at the schools and stuff.
yep.
But yeah, the 15 bike was definitely a step.
Yeah, definitely. They refined it a lot more. Hey, like the 9 to 14 was still a good bike, but just a bit of an animal compared. Hey.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And okay, so you went onto the superbike for Moto America, and it all sort of Moto America sort of evolved into like a different thing at that point. Obviously, it became Moto America, but the sport became somewhat back to what it was prior in a better way. Hey.
It's great to hear, because we're so close to it. It's hard to know what it, how our series looks abroad, and how we kind of compare to other national series or even against World Superbike. Because back in the day, it was AMA Superbike was rated higher than World Superbike,
For sure.
for a lot of years, and that's where everybody wanted to be. So, um, yeah, it's been they've done a great job. I mean, Chuck and Wayne Rainey helping run the series. I mean, those guys have a great vision for it, and the level is really high. I think the level took a big step when Tony Elias came and
Mm.
smoked everybody the first couple of rounds. It was like, okay, all right, somebody's going to have to step up and try to beat this guy. And over those last 4 years or so, Cameron Bobier has gotten so good that he's untouchable in our series. So
Mm.
it's pretty amazing, the level. I think Garrett Gerloff's showing the level right now in World Superbike by putting his thing on the podium over there in his rookie year, and Cameron, I believe, is riding at an even higher level here than Garrett was when he left. Garrett's gotten so good this year. Cameron's on his way to Moto 2, and I think the future's bright for us in the World Championship, but it's kind of open season now in Moto America. So it's going to be good.
It's and like we hear the saying here. I don't know if you hear it there, but the sport's doing good if there's Americans doing good around the world in the sport. Because like there's been the eras of obviously when Kevin Swantz, Wayne Rainey were there, Eddie Lawson obviously prior to that, John Hopkins, obviously Kenny Roberts Jr. When they're there, there's a lot more eyes on the sport. Say MotoGP. So it's good for the sport to have some people there, and seeing Bobier get the ride in Moto2 next year as well is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. I think he's going to do really well. I think
Sure.
I think it's going to be maybe a little bit shocking to some how well he's going to do. If I mean he he's on another level over here, and it's been kind of funny because it's been a little bit of a roadblock for some guys here because he's raised a level, but unless he leaves, we got to beat him to get over there. You know what I mean? So
True.
it's kind of it's good that he's going to go over there. He's going to do well. He's going to show that the Americans are back at a high level.
It's good to see. And like if you looked at your year this year on the V4R, like it's yourself, Cameron, Tony, Elias, Jack Gagne when he come back. Sort of that's the sort of top five around it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean we were there at times, when our lack of preparation didn't get us caught out in some cases. We're trying to operate on that level. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of resources to run with those guys week in and week out. You can do it once. You can do it on a weekend. You can get. We got a couple podiums earlier in the season. We weren't able to get back there throughout the year, but quite a few top fives, and it's all right in there, man. I mean, Cameron put the beating on all of us this year, but from second on, pretty tight. I think second to sixth at Laguna qualifying the last round was 0.2 of a second between us. So you erase Cameron from that, and you got the top five within 0.2. So I think it bodes well for the competition we're going to have next year. So trying to put myself in a good position.
For sure. So what's racing at Laguna Seca like?
It's a great track. It's kind of up there like Daytona is, or Indianapolis. It just has that feel when you show up there. It's like, yeah, this is the place. Corkscrew, turn one, rainy curve, all that stuff. It's a great track. Just a proper racetrack. We got definitely a few of them, but when you talk about places like Coda, Indy, Laguna, those are places you kind of circle on the calendar because you just can't wait to go there.
Yeah, I must say your calendar is a pretty cool calendar. Like if you look at the world of sports, you go, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Road America, that'd be pretty cool. You got some good ones along the way.
Yeah, it's good. I think we're hopefully going to make it to Coda regardless this coming year. I think MotoGP's trying to work out whether they can come or not based on everything that's happened in the world still. Yeah. But if GP can't make it, I think we might still have a standalone race at Coda, which would be good because we missed out on it this year.
And for yourself on the V4R, that'd be a good bike on a track like that too, wouldn't it?
I think so, yeah. Like those more kind of GP wider flowing racetracks are better, like Indianapolis, Laguna, Road America. Coda would be good for us for sure if we can get there on it. Because I rode the bike there last year, but the bike was so stock that we can't even use data from it. So be good to go there. I think we may have a preseason test there as well. We'll see.
Because everything came. And you'll know this better than I will, but everything came pretty late with the V4s for 2019. When everyone got their bikes, so it was like rush. Let's get it together and let's get it onto a track and see where we go.
Yeah, I got my bikes March 1st, and we raced April 5th.
Yeah, it's not long.
No, it was insane. So yeah.
So what did you come off before that? Did you come off the R1 straight onto the Ducati, or do you have something in
Yep.
between? Yep.
No, was on the R1 up until that point. So
What was the decision
yeah,
process with that?
end of 2018, I just wanted to make a change.
Hmm.
Wanted to do something different. I wanted something that was, not just another Yamaha on the grid, because we have a lot of Yamahas, and something that would be marketable. And I was looking at the BMW, I was looking at the Kawasaki, and I was looking at the Ducati, but kind of in a very, pie in the sky type of, you know, that'd be cool if, I could somehow do that, but I don't see it being possible, especially with how late the bike was coming. And I had a deal going to run a Kawasaki, and then it kind of all fell apart mid-January. And at the time, I was working with a local Ducati dealership, and they had been kind of staying on the idea of me racing a Ducati. And they got the okay from Ducati North America to request the first two production V4Rs off the line.
Wow.
And that's what they did. So I paid for the air freight, and we got the first two production V4Rs. They came off the line, and they were supposed to go to another country, and then they reassigned them to the U.S., and off they went. They
They're
showed
probably
up,
supposed
and
to probably
yeah,
supposed to come here.
they might have. You never know. So yeah, we got two of them, and yeah, very early
Mm,
production V4Rs, and they showed up here, and we got to work as quickly as we could.
for sure. Aren't they? They're a beautiful machined bike, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome machine.
The what was it like going from the R1 to that? Was it a good transition straight away, or did it take a bit of time?
I mean, it took time only because we didn't have a race bike to start with. I mean, we were just
Mm,
adding parts as we could. Nothing's available. We're machining stuff ourselves, trying to, figure out what the best route is for electronics and everything. And we ran the thing with the stock electronics with the key taped onto the gas tank for the first four
wow.
races. Because there just wasn't anything available for us at the time. So the transition, I got to kind of grow with the bike, and
Mm,
that was kind of nice, in a way, because I took it from a stock motorcycle, and step by step I grew with it into what we have now, which is pretty full blown superbike. So it's been a fun transition, but it's definitely different than an R1. It's a little bit narrower. It does things differently. The wings actually play a factor in a lot of places. Um, it's a pretty raw motorcycle, fun to ride.
mm. Now, like you can feel the wings.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Couple spots like Road America, we come up the front straightaway hill, and it crests, and
Yep.
usually you gotta, electronics, you gotta at least stand on the rear brake a little bit, or take power out, because you gotta mitigate the wheelie there. But on the V4R, man, it's full stick, full power, no rear brake. The thing just, stays grounded up over the hill with that downforce.
That's cool.
There's a couple other examples at a couple other tracks where there's at least a tenth or two there in time by not having to take power away, or give back some throttle, or stand on the rear brake. So it's definitely actually makes a difference.
That's cool. Like, especially a place like Road America where you've got the hill on the straight, you can tell each time. Like it's, Laguna, for instance, where you're coming over the hill, you're on full lean as well. So
Yeah,
it'd be a bit harder to tell. But going along a straight, you're going to know that's what
yeah,
it is, I guess.
yeah. It's harder to tell. I mean, I'd love to do a test where we take them off and put them back on, and take them off. But I mean,
Mm.
based on the rules, you actually have to run them. So it's not really worth doing. We just kind of, take it as it is.
So, what is the current rules for a superbike in Moto America? What are you allowed to do?
It's right aligned with World Superbike rules, except for gearbox. That's the
Wow.
only difference. So full blown Magneti Morelli systems, swing arms, forks, whatever you can get. And we have to use stock gear ratios, whereas World Superbike can dedicate they have to dedicate a gear ratio, to the sanctioning body, but they can change it from stock ratios. So that's the only difference.
Wow. So you're a full factory bike, pretty much.
as close as I can get.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you look at British Supers, a bit different.
Right.
You look at like every zone has their own sort of ruling, so it's really interesting to see. But was it a big change when you got the Morelli system on from stock?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely different from stock. I mean, you can corner by corner, adjust things, traction control, torque mapping. Um, you can do anything and change things per gear, per corner, per part of the corner. It's pretty sophisticated. So, yeah.
Coming from flat track, do you think that's a good thing, or is there too much, or is there never too much? What do you think?
I'm for it. I mean, all the technology. I mean, you still gotta spin the thing up mid corner and get it pointed. I mean,
Yep.
there's so much in it still. I think to the layman or the general public, they don't realize that traction control doesn't mean that you can just you know do whatever you want with a thing. You need enough power allowed for the thing to spin and get pointed off the corners, and you're still making up most of your time by being brave on the brakes anyway. So
Mm.
there's not a whole lot in it. Even when you think about the BSB system where there's no rider aids, they're still torque mapping, they're still pulling power out, they're still having to map everything for the tracks and utilize electronics guys, and the riders still can have that little bit there to help them. So I mean, it's just you got these high horsepower motorcycles, they're heavy. um, it's just the way of the world. I mean, the bikes come with these rider aids on them from the
Yeah.
factory now, so that's how it is now.
Yep. It's made them so good to ride too. Like
Yes.
if you put somebody on your brand new Ducati V4R on the street, they've got their license straight away on
Hmm.
like race mode. It might scare most people,
Hmm.
like first time, but
Yeah.
you can tame it right down. There's so much you can do to make it safer for people to jump on the
Yeah.
first time.
Let's even there's people that have the standard V4, the V4S with the 1100
Yep.
engine, and even for me, the first time I rode it on a racetrack, just in stock form,
Yep.
the full power mode was too much. I
Wow.
went, I put it on the medium power mode where it keeps full power on a straightaway, but takes some power out off the corners. I went 2 seconds a lap faster.
Is that right?
So, yep, yep. So, I mean, it's not all about just as much power as you can put to the ground. You'd be amazed how tame we make these bikes mid corner, off the corner, to
Mm.
make them rideable, where you can actually have some adjustability. And that's what electronics guys are for these days, is making these things rideable.
Mm. It's such a big part of it. Are you on a
Hmm.
control tire there,
Yep, Dunlop.
Dunlop? How was it going
Hmm.
to the Dunlop control? Good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any different. That happened all in 2009, back when DMG came on. So,
Oh, so it's been the
I've,
same evolution of Dunlop.
yep, same evolution. And it's always been a US made tire. So, not the ones that like Moto 2 tires are made in France.
Yep.
We use tires that are made in Buffalo, New York, about an hour from where I was born. So, it's kind of cool, that we
Yeah.
have, an American company building all our tires here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know much different as far as MotoAmerica goes, but I raced on Pirellis when we won the Daytona 200, so that was something a little bit different. Um, but yeah, as far as like really the tire wars and racing against, I mean, is there a spec tire in Australian Superbike?
No, it's not. It's
No.
predominantly Pirelli people use,
Hmm.
but we've just got Michelin's just developed a new tire, and
Okay.
Michelin's just starting to come into it. Have you heard of a name of Jeremy Burgess? He used to be Valentino Rossi's crew
Yeah.
chief for
Yeah.
many years.
Of course.
He's
Yeah.
he's he's become a tire tech for our local Honda Superbike team here.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
with
That's
Michelin,
awesome.
so it'll be interesting to see. People have been Pirelli and Dunlop for a long time here,
Hmm. Yeah.
but the Michelin. It's our last round of our superbikes this weekend, so it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Um,
Okay.
our series had round one in at World Superbike Weekend, which was the last weekend of February,
Yeah. And
and
now
it's
and now you're
been
having.
round two today. So yeah,
Wow.
been a long time. So
Wow.
between, so yeah, so double header round 2 and 3 over this weekend. So
Yeah.
be interested
You
to see
had
how it
Josh
goes.
Hayes over there, didn't you?
Yeah, Josh Hayes come over and did a
Yeah.
wild card at the start of the year,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
which is
right.
cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you ever
Good
been
dude.
here?
Nope.
No.
No. Never have.
Yeah, it's a good
I.
place.
Yeah. No. I just hasn't worked out. I've talked to Jason Pridmore quite a bit about coming over and doing the Island Classic,
Mm,
but it's always just it's right in the middle of preparation for our season, so
yeah.
it's never worked out. But I hope to make it out there sometime.
Have they released the schedule for 2021 for you guys yet?
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
We have most of it. We have 8 rounds, so we've got our normal kind of rotation: Coda, Atlanta, VIR, Road America. Then we head west and go to Washington, the Ridge, Laguna, come
Yeah.
back over, do Pittsburgh, Jersey, Barber, and we make one sweep west and back to the east.
Wow. Man, that's such a huge place. Like Australia's big as well, but it's such a huge series, yours.
Yeah.
Team ownership. Do you drive the truck? Do you what? Tell us about your team. What happens?
Drive the truck. I've got a full time guy, Dave Hopkinson. He won the BSB championship in 2018 with Leon Haslam,
Mm,
and he's my full time guy, and he's working on prepping bikes and the rig and everything, and he's coming out here this weekend again to spend some time with me. So he's my right hand man. He's taking care of all the technical stuff and parts orders and inventory and everything, and we're just working on really sales and marketing right now, just trying to get our sponsorship together and our budget together for next year. And yeah, I mean, I book all the travel, logistics, PR, do all the sales, train, ride. Um, yeah, I mean, throughout the season, drive the rig. Um, but bought the trailer that has living quarters, so kind of live in the rig during the race weekend, so I'm not going back and forth to a hotel, which has been really nice. And yeah, from there, man, just going racing, just doing what I got to do.
living the dream.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to see because there'd be a whole lot of races that'd be flying between the rounds. Yeah, it's a different way to do it, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's great to, we've driven a lot more this year just because of COVID and everything. So it's been good to see the country again and just kind of, try to leave early for races and just take our time and, you know, driving. I mean, we have so many different regions and terrain and areas in our country
Mm,
that it's so cool to be able to kind of, see different places. And I didn't do the drive from the Ridge to Jersey this year. It's about 52 hours drive.
hmm.
And my dad did that one, but I'm planning on doing that one next year and go through Yellowstone and Rockies and all that, and just watch the terrain change as you go west to east.
52 hours. Man, that's huge, eh? To go
Yeah,
racing, it's a long way.
yeah, yeah. It's
I
funny. Dave thought 6 hours was a long way from the BSB paddock.
That would be.
Going to the next round. They fit their
Yeah.
entire series in the state of Texas here. So
Yeah, it's so funny, and we're similar to America in that way. Like,
yeah.
so our round up here that we have it's the only one that we have in Queensland where I am. The
Hmm.
other rounds are all at least what do you call it? Probably 1,200 miles, pretty much at
Hmm.
least 1,000 miles to 1,200 miles, pretty much everything. So it's still a
Yeah.
fair journey.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, team ownership, is it a good thing in this current time?
That's a good question. It's definitely tough. If sponsors are pulling back,
Mm,
um, some had good years this year, some had bad years this year. So it's just working through some of that stuff. And there was definitely a couple sponsors that were supposed to come on this season that didn't when everything kind of fell apart. So there was for sure some struggles there, but I really enjoy being accountable for my own success.
mm,
You know, um, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? But if I have success or if I fail, it will be, by my own account. And I think that's just not really a choice I've made. It's just something that, how everything's gone in my racing career. Um, every year I for sure look for other opportunities to go and just be a rider and see what that would be like, but it always turns out that I'm back right here and doing my thing. And, we continue to grow and improve every year. So there's really, there's no reason why we can't find our way to the front if I can keep growing this program. So it would be ultra rewarding if we can win Superbike races or maybe win a Superbike championship with KWR. That's the goal.
Huge. Tell me about 6D helmets.
Those guys are awesome. Yeah, I've been working with those guys since 2016 when they first came out with their helmet. And pretty early on, the helmet was a little big at first, and we were working on it and developing. I was kind of their lead, Superbike rider on the street side, developing the function of the helmet. The safety was always there, and their technology that they have with their isolation dampers and their ODS, and really helped them give feedback so they can develop a good helmet. And I've been in it since then. Had a couple big dings to the head that could have been a lot worse. Saw some pretty quick recovery and actually have some data showing, some concussions I've had with their helmet versus others that it's proven its worth to me for sure.
Because they've really changed the game in the dirt world.
Yeah.
Obviously, the road world's starting to feed through.
Yeah, they're getting there. It was good to have Cameron Bobier in a 6D helmet this year. So we were both running it in MotoAmerica. So those guys are awesome. They're really paving the way, making other brands kind of look at their technology and realize they need to improve.
It takes something like that to improve too, doesn't it? It's a complete a revolution of design instead of it's been evolutions. Just keep evolving the products. It was a big change. So, tell me a good day in racing life. What's been a really good day?
Winning the Daytona 200 for sure. Away. Yeah, I mean, and right up there with it is getting a podium on this Ducati this year. Just that's all I do everything for. All the nights sitting here at my desk designing stuff or sending out emails or crossing off another potential sponsor who said no, or whatever it is. It's all for those moments as a rider when I get to have a good day on the bike. And man, there's nothing like it. So those are the good days, and they come and go pretty quick, so you better enjoy them. And just if you crave more, just keep working for more of them.
Very cool. So, what's the plan for next year? Are you keeping the 19 V4Rs? Do you just keep freshening them up, or what's happening there?
Yeah, everything always turns over. I mean, new engines, new parts, new frames. Yep. It's just kind of a working bundle of parts. So the bike's not changing for this coming year. So it's everything's pretty simple as far as re-upping, and we've got plenty of parts to roll over into next season. So trying to improve where we can, trying to go to a newer fork spec, try to do, a couple things to put us in a better position to be consistent, have the same bike each weekend. That's kind of the plan. Just keep it growing. Getting in the Ducati thing. I mean, it's a 3 to 5 year commitment. I mean, that's what I knew going into it. So we're here to stay and keep building it and try to grow it into something even better.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no Ducatis in the field when you got this, was there?
No, not for 8-9 years. So
isn't that crazy? Like a brand that's got such a rich history in superbike racing.
Yeah. The Twin was a lot to maintain, and there was such good support from Yamaha and Suzuki in this country that it just made sense to go that route, because you could get help. You could get help from other teams. It was very difficult to kind of pave your own path, and I guess I was the guy who was gonna be the first one to try to do it, and pulled it together last year, kind of on a whim. But it's cool to see other Ducati V4Rs now joining the series, and I think that people see that it's possible to run a program with that bike.
Very cool. What's your who looks after your video work?
It's Gray Fam. He's a great,
Yeah.
yeah. He's awesome. He does a lot of really good work around the MotoAmerica series and Supercross, and he's everywhere doing all sorts of stuff. So he filmed and produced and edited the Undeterred series from this year, all 12 episodes. So yeah, he's been hard at work for me this year.
Well, I hope you continue it because it's cool. Like and I know he does James Rispoli stuff as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really neat, very cinematic, and yeah, it's good to see someone. I think that's part of it too. I said this to some people the other day. It's good to see around the world everyone getting to be able to tell your own brand, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's been good. Just trying to show the story because I think it's a unique story.
Yeah.
Kind of the way I'm trying to do it. So I think it's good to tell that story and show people, if you got to work hard at what you want, that's kind of the whole idea. So yeah, I think we can keep it going for next year. We'll see if we maybe rename it or do something a little bit different or take a little bit different approach. But it was definitely a hit. A lot of people, a lot of positive responses from it.
No, it's cool. Well, tell me about King of the Baggers. Like you're at Laguna Seca, obviously. What was it like to watch?
I mean, as a guy who grew up around Harleys, I liked it. I enjoyed it. My brother raced it. He raced the turbocharged one. It was great. I mean, it's cool to see other brands that wouldn't ever be in our paddock come into our paddock. Harley Davidson, Indian Motorcycle, with real proper efforts. To make it. I thought it was great. I thought. It'd be cool to see if Indian can produce a fleet of them or Harley can produce a fleet of them and try to get something going. Because I think that there's a lot of potential in that. I mean, you're seeing it over there, right?
For sure. Yeah, I've seen it, and I've seen the number of eyes that were on it, and I've seen the lap times. The lap times were, what were they doing? The fastest one were low 30s at Laguna, I think.
Yeah, like 34s or something, I think. Yeah. And they went quicker than a couple stock 1,000 guys. I mean, it's no joke. Tyler, Hayden, those guys are pretty quick guys, and good bikes.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I seen it. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. Different sets of eyes, and it also brings other eyes onto Superbike. Different people that never would have seen it. So
for sure.
Well, mate, we'll wrap it up there. We've done pretty much an hour on that. So thank you so much for coming on. You'll have to come to Australia and bring the V4s over. So
cool do something, man. We come over for if they have a GP. Try to come over for GP or World Superbike or something, or we'll just have to see.
Yeah, the seasons are just so like Island Classics always the last weekend of January, which is when you're obviously in your main time. World Superbike's always February, last weekend of February.
Yeah.
So same deal. And then the GP is the second last weekend of October every year.
Right.
So it's sort of very hard to hard for you to come over, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll make it over there at some point. So.
Fantastic. Well, mate, thank you so much for your time on everything today. And I'll have to we'll catch up with you soon.
Sure thing, man. Appreciate it.